to another great episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how one piece of meat can we can just by cutting it in different ways, we can get different types of like stir-fry meat, slivered meat for sandwiches. We can do meats that are really tiny bits of pieces that I also will be doing a video on that uses coconut milk and macaroni and corn in it, and it tastes really good. So just it really makes a difference when we have the meat cut in different ways to present it in dishes. And the way I do it is, when I have a bigger piece of meat, I'm just gonna make a lot of it since I'm doing it once, and then we're gonna be putting it in bags. And I use Ziploc freezer bags because you don't want to use cheap bags. You're gonna get a lot of freezer burn in there, and your meat is not gonna taste good. And if you get your meat that doesn't taste good, when you put it in your dishes, all your hard work is gone down the drain. So Ziploc bags, freezer bags, good quality freezer bags are very important in this procedure. My marination for meat, chicken, shrimps, always almost the same, except for if we're using different recipes that actually need other stuff in it. But my base marination is always the same. You might want to check out my video on, I've done a video on a big piece of meat that I cut up and then we had it put in a crock pot, and how we shredded that meat, and how clean shreds that meat came out. So let's get started. I'm gonna talk about my ingredients before we get started. I have my gloves on. I just like working with gloves. It's a lot more sanitary if you have longer nails, and sometimes you just don't want to get stuff into your meat or the meat stuff into your nails. I'm just a little bit picky with that, and I use them at home. I don't work outside, so I always have a box of gloves. So you'll be seeing all my other videos. Whenever I'm working with meats, I will have gloves on. So here I have ginger garlic paste that I have I do my own ginger garlic at home. I'll be doing a video to show you how to do ginger and garlic, how to freeze it, and make sure you log in to my YouTube videos too to show the tutorial on that one. I have soy sauce here. The other thing I wanted to point out is you might want to try different soy sauces from your Asian stores, because some brands are so much better than others. So like if there are brands that you get at your grocery store, if you go to like an Asian store and talk to them and ask them what soy sauce would you use, they use a little bit more expensive soy sauce, and it really makes a difference in the taste. So I have got garlic ginger paste, I've got the soy sauce, I've got lemon pepper. I know some places you guys cannot find the lemon pepper. I've had comments on my videos. So if you can't find lemon pepper, you can use lemon zest, you can use lime zest, or you don't have to really have anything in there. I just really like the taste of lemon pepper. So all my marination has the lemon pepper in it, and then I like lots of black pepper in my marination too. And I'm gonna go grab salt since I forgot to get the salt on the table, but we're gonna be using I like to use sea salt. It just, for some reason in the marination, it just turns out so much better. I've tried it with the regular iodized salt, and just with experimenting with recipes, try and use sea salt and see how you like it. So we're gonna get started. You want to have two sides of knives on the table when you're preparing this, and you want to make sure that these are nice and sharp. And you could just run these like this, like like these, to sharpen them up, and it helps. Or you could get a knife sharpener. But I would say a good investment in very good knives in the kitchen is really important. It'll really cut your prep time in half. So what I'm gonna do here now is I'm gonna just cut pieces for. It's a little hard here just because I took it out of the freezer yesterday, and you can see that it's still frozen in the middle, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we're going to do is we're going to marinate this meat in thin strips. So then we can use this for stir fries. Just thin strips. And it's okay if some of them are shorter than others. And if you want them to even be thinner, you can even cut them even thinner than that. But I kind of like these size, and you kind of want to stay where you probably have the same thickness. You don't want to cut some that are too thick and some that are too thin, because then when you're cooking, some of them are going to get done faster than the others. So, and a very good note on this would be marinate your meat for at least half an hour, if not overnight. It's just, the more you marinate your meat, the more flavor it's gonna suck in, and cooking wise also it's gonna cook faster. Sometimes I used meat tenderizer. I don't like using meat tenderizer very much. This is just my opinion. Everybody cooks different. Everybody has different ideas. I just feel like I would rather use something natural, something more like kiwi. Sometimes I use kiwi in my marination, just so, because kiwi is known as a meat tenderizer. So for me, if I have a choice, I will use kiwi instead of the meat tenderizer, just because I feel like if the meat gets tenderized with the meat tenderizer, we don't know what happens inside our stomach, you know. So I like to stay healthy. So this is why I use kiwi in mine. But these strips are so thin and long that I don't think we're gonna need any meat tenderizer in here. I'm gonna do one more so you guys can see. Again, you wanna cut it at approximately, this is about 1/4 of an inch to close to 1/2 an inch. And actually when it is frozen in the middle, it's actually nice because it's easier to cut. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it in our bowl. And then once I'm done cutting all of them, we're gonna add our marination. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna marinate this overnight. And then we're gonna stir fry this together. And then I'll show you how we're gonna be putting them in freezer bakes and getting them ready. So they're prepared, they're ready to go. Write a list, stick it on your fridge, how many packets of stir-fry meat pieces that you have, bags in your freezer, so you don't forget. And make sure that you label it really, really well. So sometimes you open the freezer and everything looks the same. Sometimes I put stuff in and I think, I'm sure I'm gonna know what this is when I open my freezer. But really, when I open my freezer, sometimes I can't tell what kind of meat I have done that for. So I've really learned. I've got a little label maker. I make my label, I put my date on there. So I kind of like to use it, and then if I do more of the meats, I will put the older meats up in the front, and then the older meats in the front, and then the newer ones in the back, so you can rotate and use the older ones first. So we have this meat, which is ready. So this is our stir-fry meat. So I'm gonna put that in here. All right. And then what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and also cut the pieces for another dish that I was talking to you guys about, the one that uses very, very tiny pieces of meat. And this is the reason why I mentioned that you should have a really nice sharp knife. It just cuts your time in half. So for this one here, let me see if I can use the big one here. Yep. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna make some slices. Long, thin slices. Now turn it around and cut it again the other way. And you wanna let the knife do its work. So you're not like losing your energy by running the knife. It's just doing its own work. By moving it up and down once, you should have a good cut. And you see where the meat is defrosted a lot, you will see that it's a little harder to get a hold of to cut. But the ones that are in the middle, the ones that are a little frozen, it's really easy to have the little pieces done. So we're gonna put this in here. Oops. let's do one more, and then we'll figure out what we can do with even this kind of meat. So I had a whole big piece of meat, and I had one video that was done that was bigger pieces that we're gonna get the shredded meat out of it. We have this here that we're gonna get stir-fried meat out of it. We're doing this to add it into like soups or casseroles. So let's go ahead and quickly cut this so you can see again lengthwise how we're gonna do lengthwise strips. Quickly turn it around, and then we're gonna do smaller pieces. So these are about, I would say they're cubes, and they're about 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters big. And I like them like that because some of those recipes don't require such big pieces of meat. So, all right. So I'm gonna throw this here into our bowl. Quickly gonna go and rinse my hands. And then, like I said, the base of the marination is always the same. So we're gonna do the stir fry meat first. What we're gonna do is we're gonna throw in our garlic ginger paste, and you kind of want to eyeball it. I mean, if you have a lot of meat, then you're gonna add a lot of ginger garlic paste. And I like to add a little bit more in mine just because I like my meat with a lot of fresh garlic and a lot of fresh ginger. So I would say this is about 1.5 pounds. So for about 1.5 pounds, I did a tablespoon of garlic and a tablespoon of ginger that I grind together. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give it a splash of a good soy sauce. Lemon pepper, we're gonna sprinkle lemon pepper in there, and we're gonna do black pepper, and we've got the base done. Now, another thing what we could do is just add just about 1 teaspoon of fresh olive oil, and that's gonna keep our meat really nice and soft and hydrated. So basically the same marination is also going to go into our meat tidbits here, and this is what it looks like marinated. I'm going to stick this in the freezer, and when we come back I'm going to show you how we're going to stir fry this. That was 10 minutes, right? So I've got my pan here real nice and hot, and you kind of want to get your pan nice and hot before you add your olive oil in there. It's about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to give it, and I can see that it's really warming up really well. So I'm going to go ahead and empty the meat right into our pan. And that's perfect. When you hear the sizzles, that's exactly where you want your temperature to be for the meat. So we're going to go ahead and add all our meat in here. And you just want to stir fry this for about 5-10 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat up because you quickly want to stir fry this, and since the pieces are really thin, it is going to cook through. Our meat has been cooking up. It took about 7 minutes, and there was a lot of liquid that came out, and now you can see that the liquid is pretty much absorbed. And you can just tell that the oil is coating the meat. That tells me that the meat has soaked up all the flavor. And the way I usually can tell is you take the thickest part of the piece here. You put it on a cutting board, and don't use a very sharp knife. You just want to use a butter knife, because if you use a sharp knife, it's going to cut so well and you'll think that, oh, it's done. But like, see how easy it is for me to just, I'm really not putting any pressure on it, and I just cut it. And the meat is not completely soft, but it's just perfect, because for stir fries, you don't want to have your meat completely soft. And if you can see here that there's no pink, the meat is not pink, it's cooked all the way through. And the taste is really good. It's got the black pepper taste in it. It's got just enough soy sauce, just enough salt, and just the right amount of garlic and ginger. It's completely cooled. It's not even warm, it's completely cool. You want to make sure that it's completely cool before you put it in the freezer bags. Now I have a freezer bag here, a good quality freezer bag. These are, I think these are the ones that are like the sandwich ones, and then you can get the gallon size too. So if you have a lot of meat and you want to store it, I usually, when I have a lot of meat, I still store it in little bags so that I know that I'm going to have one serving for my recipe that I'm going to do. So I basically took a permanent marker, I put down what kind of meat it is, and I put down the date. These two things are very crucial, that you know, you don't want to leave your meat in there for too long, and you want to also write down what it is, because once it comes out of the freezer, or when you're looking at it, you probably won't be able to tell whether it's, you know, cubed or whether it's the longer meat. So we're just going to go ahead and add all the cubed meat in here. And you might just want to put in just enough, like if you have a bigger family, you might have to do more. We have a small family, so I don't need that much. So I got all the cubed meat in here, and then also be making the stir fry meat that I have here that you can also use for fajitas and stuff. Again, same thing, what it is and the date, very crucial. And then you also want to make sure that you get all the air out of the bag, because if you put it in with the air, it's going to become ice inside and it doesn't taste so good. So you just want to put it down, press it so it doesn't have any air in it, seal the bag, and you're ready to put this in the freezer. And I'm going to do the same with this into our freezer bags. So this is an episode, it's just a tutorial to show you guys how to prepare the meat, get it in your freezer so you can have your prep time or your cooking time cut in half, because you know already prepared your meat. So this is all for this episode. Thank you for visiting me on this episode of Raihana's Cuisines. I'll see you here next time with another great recipe. See you then, folks.